The dawn shattered with a scream of silence as steel clouds loomed above the forest, choking the horizon. A small bird fluttered in the cold air, its chest heaving, wings trembling against the weight of the storm. The narrator whispered that survival does not wait for permission. It demands obedience. A fox lunged from the shadows, teeth bared, its hunger sharper than the wind. The bird cried a thin note, fragile yet defiant, a single song torn from its throat. Mother Laura said, "The forest has no mercy today." Father John replied, "Only those who fight without fear will endure this sky." A branch snapped under the force of the storm, scattering leaves like fleeing souls. The fox's eyes glowed with hunger, unblinking in its pursuit. The bird darted upward, but the air itself turned hostile, slicing with cold steel gusts. The narrator declared that nature's law was written in sudden strikes, not gentle warnings. The sky closed darker, silence pressed heavier, and the first song faltered in the weight of survival. The storm pressed harder, tearing branches and scattering the forest in chaos. The bird's fragile wings faltered, but it forced itself onward. Mother Laura said, "The air itself wants to bury the living." Father John whispered, "This is not just weather, it is judgment." The fox crouched lower, lips curling in hunger. The narrator told that in the law of the wild, every breath is borrowed, every second paid in blood. The bird's faint song carried only a moment before the thunder swallowed it whole. Shadows deepened, as if the forest itself wanted silence. Lightning cracked across the sky, striking close enough to split a tree in two. The forest trembled with raw violence. The bird shrieked in fear, circling erratically in search of refuge. Mother Laura said, "Even the earth rebels against the weak." Father John muttered, "Nothing survives without sacrifice." The fox slithered forward, its paws silent against drenched soil. The narrator whispered that in nature's book, mercy has no page, and hesitation is a death sentence. The bird darted toward the canopy, wings aching, eyes wide with terror. The fox lunged again, claws tearing dirt. Mother Laura gasped, "It cannot last much longer." Father John growled, "Strength is never enough." The narrator declared that each creature carried the storm inside as much as around them, a war between breath and silence, life and steel. The forest roared like a living beast, unrelenting. Rain began to fall in piercing sheets, slicing through the chaos like knives. The bird's feathers clung to its body, weight dragging it closer to the jaws below. Mother Laura cried, "Even the sky joins the hunt." Father John whispered, "Only silence waits now." The narrator said that survival is written in screams, but death is etched in silence, and both waited beneath steel skies. The storm softened to a cruel whisper, leaving the air heavy with damp silence. The small bird perched on a broken branch, trembling, its breath shallow but steady. The narrator said that every fragile creature carries the weight of its world in silence. Mother Laura whispered, "It fights even when the skies deny it peace." Father John said, "Its wings are not strong, but its will is unbroken." The fox slinked back into the shadows, eyes still glowing, patient as hunger itself. The forest seemed to pause, watching the struggle unfold. The bird lifted its beak and sang once more, a thin cry pierced with hope. The narrator declared that it was not just a song, but a plea for the world to remember its voice before silence claimed it forever. The bird's note echoed faintly, swallowed by the canopy above, but it carried strength beyond its size. The narrator whispered that fragile voices shape the heart of survival. Mother Laura said, "The forest listens, even when it pretends to ignore." Father John murmured, "The smallest breath can outlast the loudest storm." The bird's wings shook as it tried to balance, talons slipping on the wet bark. Yet it sang again, a melody that rose against the weight of steel skies. The fox's gaze never faltered, patient, waiting for the inevitable falter. The song carried warmth, fragile but luminous, threading through the ruined forest. The narrator said that even under steel skies, hope dares to breathe. Mother Laura whispered, "That cry is not weakness, it is defiance." Father John added, even in despair, there is something worth fighting for. The fox shifted, hunger gnawing, claws scraping soil. The bird's chest swelled, voice breaking through rain mist, fragile but unyielding. The storm above rolled like a wounded beast, but did not silence the cry. The narrator told that in this fragile song lay the truth of survival, not in strength, but in the courage to sing beneath skies that promised silence. The bird trembled, yet lifted its voice again, trembling note scattering into storm winds. Mother Laura said, "The world does not grant mercy, yet it chooses to sing." Father John whispered, "And we are forced to care, though we cannot shield it." The fox slithered closer, silent as moving shadow, hunger waiting with patience sharpened by the storm. The narrator said that the fragile bird became the heart of the forest, a reminder of life's delicate defiance against steel skies. Its voice was thin, but it pierced through silence like fire through frost. Mother Laura murmured, "It sings though death waits at every shadow." Father John whispered, "That is why it matters, because the smallest song can carry eternity." The fox's patience sharpened, every second dragging hunger tighter. The bird's chest rose again, fragile and relentless, daring the storm to end it. The forest turned from silence to menace as the storm gathered strength once more. The bird's wings faltered, its song breaking into gasps of sound. The narrator declared that nature never rests. Danger multiplies when weakness lingers. Mother Laura whispered, "The air itself claws at the fragile creature." Father John said, "Every breath is stolen, and still it fights." The fox crept closer, tail twitching, hunger carving patience into precision. Branches cracked above, lightning split the gray heavens, and rain poured like steel daggers. The narrator warned that rising conflict is not a single enemy, but the world itself pressing from every direction. The bird sang again, trembling, daring the forest to listen. The narrator said that conflict grows in layers, each heavier than the last. The bird beat its wings, soaked with rain, dragging weight against the storm. Mother Laura whispered, "The sky punishes it for daring to sing." Father John growled, "But silence is a deeper death." The fox shifted again, claws carving into soaked earth. The storm thundered like a heart breaking in the sky. The bird's song cracked but did not vanish. The narrator revealed that defiance grows loudest when death waits nearest. The forest floor churned into mud as the storm dragged the world into chaos. The bird darted upward, each wing beat slower, weaker, yet desperate. The narrator said that survival never softens its test, it sharpens every edge. Mother Laura cried, "It cannot hold much longer." Father John whispered, "Even the strong are torn down in this storm." The fox leapt suddenly, teeth snapping through empty air, hunger ignited by the chase. The narrator told that every predator waits for exhaustion to write the end. The narrator declared that storms break more than branches, they break certainty. The bird swerved sharply, feathers torn by the wind. Mother Laura shouted, "Every note it sings is a cry against silence." Father John said, "Conflict is not survival, it is war." The fox prowled again, circling, its eyes glowing brighter in the storm's half-light. Lightning struck nearby, splitting wood and filling the air with smoke and fire. The narrator whispered that each sound, each breath, carried the edge of collapse. Rain fell harder, drumming against leaves and soil, drowning even the bird's faintest cry. The narrator said that the rising conflict is merciless, crushing both hope and fear into silence. Mother Laura whispered, "It sings as though the end has already come." Father John said, "Its fight makes us see our own fragility." The fox crouched once more, body coiled like a spring, hunger ruling its breath. The narrator told that survival burns fiercest when all that remains is defiance under steel skies. The storm thrashed the forest until the bird's song seemed swallowed whole, yet something shifted beneath the steel skies. The narrator revealed that the predator too carried a hidden burden. The fox's breath slowed, its eyes no longer burning with pure hunger, but shaded with desperation. Mother Laura gasped, That beast hunts not only for itself. Father John whispered, another life waits beyond the shadows. The bird faltered on its perch, feathers torn, but its eyes locked with the fox's. The narrator told that the hunter's hunger was not greed but survival for unseen mouths waiting in silence. The narrator declared that the truth is never what it first appears. The fox glanced toward a hollow tree where faint cries pierced the storm. Mother Laura whispered, there are young ones waiting. Father John said, hunger drives even mercy to silence. The bird trembled, its small body still defying the storm, unaware of the lives its survival threatened. The narrator spoke that conflict is never simple, for even the hunter carries chains of need. The bird lifted its voice again, song thin but piercing, echoing against thunder. The narrator said that this was no longer prey versus predator, but life against life. Mother Laura murmured, the song is a shield of innocence. Father John whispered, and yet the cubs starve if silence wins. The fox hesitated, torn between the cry in its belly and the cries in its den. The narrator revealed that the forest itself betrays both, testing which defiance will endure. Lightning split the sky as if to reveal the truth with fire. The bird shivered but kept singing, voice frail yet unbroken. Mother Laura whispered, it sings not to live, but to be remembered. Father John said, the fox waits, but not for blood alone. The narrator declared that the storm's hidden truth was this: every creature's survival costs another its hope. The forest bore witness, indifferent yet absolute. The rain slowed, as though the storm itself listened to the fragile song. The narrator whispered that the twist of survival is not villain and victim, but sacrifice shared in silence. Mother Laura murmured, the forest bleeds on both sides. Father John said, no life escapes without cost. The fox lowered its head, torn, while the bird sang one last trembling note. The narrator declared that truth under steel skies is cruel, but clear survival demands that one life breaks so another endures. The storm exploded in violence, wind howling like a beast unleashed. The bird hurled itself upward, wings quivering, voice rising into a ragged cry. The narrator said that this was not flight, but defiance carved into the sky. Mother Laura shouted, it risks everything for a song. Father John growled, and the fox risks everything for its young. The fox lunged, claws tearing mud, hunger pushing it into the open. Lightning ripped across the canopy, scattering shadows into fire. The narrator declared that the climax of survival is not won by the strongest, but by the one who refuses to stop. The bird's fragile body twisted in air, rain slashing across its feathers. The fox's teeth snapped, echoing like thunder. The narrator whispered that survival's peak is a breath away from silence. Mother Laura cried, the storm will swallow them both. Father John said, no one wins when the sky is steel. The forest trembled, branches splintering under the fury. The bird cried louder, its song sharp as a blade cutting the storm. The narrator revealed that in the chaos, hope dared to challenge hunger. The fox sprang again, rage and need bound in its muscles, but lightning split the earth between predator and prey. Fire burst from a shattered tree, smoke filling the clearing. The narrator said the climax does not choose sides, it breaks them all. Mother Laura screamed, the storm itself has become the hunter. Father John whispered, the song fights fire as much as fangs. The bird soared through smoke, feathers scorched but voice unbroken. The narrator declared that this was the heart of survival, fragile life burning brighter than the storm's fire. The clearing became a battlefield, air filled with smoke, rain, and broken cries. The fox crouched, ready to strike again, body trembling from fire's heat. The bird hovered above, voice breaking but fierce. The narrator said that climax is the moment when both sides lose more than they can bear. Mother Laura cried, one must fall before silence can claim its due. Father John growled, but both deserve to endure. The thunder rolled, unyielding, drowning their words. The narrator whispered that survival, Under steel skies is written in scars, not victories. The storm reached its peak, a howl that tore sky and soil apart. The bird gave one final burst of song, voice shaking but pure, as though it poured every breath into the world. The fox leapt once more, claws outstretched, eyes burning with need. Mother Laura whispered, "This is the moment that breaks or saves." Father John said, "The end will echo forever." The narrator declared that the climax is not just survival, but the moment when silence waits to claim both song and hunger beneath the same steel sky. The storm eased into a hollow silence, broken only by the bird's ragged breath as it clung to a trembling branch. The narrator said that resolution does not arrive with triumph, but with inevitability. Mother Laura whispered, "It has given everything." Father John murmured, "And still the skies demand more." The fox crouched beneath the broken tree, breath heavy, torn between hunger and the faint cries from its hidden den. The narrator revealed that survival is never a victory, but a cost measured in what is lost. The bird lifted its head, voice faint but still alive, a final thread of defiance woven into the storm's aftermath. The narrator whispered that even silence bends to the smallest sound. Mother Laura said, "It sings though every breath bleeds." Father John whispered, "Perhaps that is its gift, not survival, but remembrance." The fox turned toward the hollow tree, torn by cries of its young. The narrator declared that the forest accepts no easy endings, only choices carved by necessity. The fox stepped back, its hunger burning, yet it turned away, drawn to the cubs hidden in the dark. The narrator said that survival is never mercy, only exchange. Mother Laura whispered, "It spares the song for its young." Father John murmured, "One life yields space for another." The bird collapsed against the branch, feathers heavy, voice thinning into near silence. The narrator declared that under steel skies, resolution comes not in victory but in surrender. The forest quieted, as if mourning the fragile song. The narrator whispered that resolution carries the weight of finality, not comfort. Mother Laura said, "It will not rise again." Father John whispered, "But it will never be forgotten." The fox nuzzled into its den, cubs whining softly, the hunger exchanged for survival of the small. The bird's voice faltered, fading like the last ember of fire. The narrator declared that silence under steel skies is not empty, but eternal. The rain ceased, leaving the clearing soaked in stillness, as the bird's final note hung in the air and vanished. The narrator said that resolution ties the circle back to dawn's first song, where beauty blooms only to be silenced. Mother Laura whispered, "It sang, and the world listened." Father John said, "Now silence is its legacy." The fox closed its eyes, cubs pressed close, while the forest stood motionless beneath the iron sky. The narrator declared that under steel skies, endings are not cruel nor kind, they are absolute. The clearing stood frozen after the storm, the sky still heavy with steel-gray silence. The narrator whispered that echoes do not fade. They cling like shadows. The bird lay motionless, wings folded, its last note lingering in memory. Mother Laura whispered, "Its song will not return, yet it remains." Father John said, "We will hear it even when silence rules." The fox curled near its den, cubs pressed to its side, breath slow and steady. The narrator declared that life endures only because others fall, and silence becomes a song of its own. The forest seemed to breathe again, rain fading into mist that curled among the trees. The narrator said that the echo of the bird's voice lived beyond its fragile body. Mother Laura whispered, "Its silence is heavier than thunder." Father John murmured, "Yet we carry its song within us." The fox raised its head briefly, eyes meeting the still form, then lowered to its cubs again. The narrator revealed that the echo of survival is neither mercy nor cruelty, but the memory of what could not last. The narrator whispered that echoes live longer than the voices that create them. The bird's final cry haunted the clearing, etched into every trembling leaf. Mother Laura said, "It is gone, but it is everywhere." Father John replied, "The song belongs to the forest now." The fox licked the cubs gently, the den alive with soft whimpers. The sky above held its steel weight, unchanging, unmoved. The narrator declared that the echo endures not in sound, but in the silence that follows, sharper than any cry. The forest stilled as if bound by memory, every branch remembering the fragile song. The narrator whispered that under steel skies, even death becomes a voice. Mother Laura said, "We came to witness survival but found a truth greater than survival." Father John murmured, "The world is not built on victories, but echoes." The fox exhaled slowly. Cubs pressed warm against its chest, life continuing though silence ruled above. The narrator declared that the echo remained, haunting, eternal. The narrator declared that the final echo was not sound, but silence itself. The bird's first and last song remained etched in the air, a fragile defiance that outlived its breath. Mother Laura whispered, "It sang before falling silent forever." Father John said, "And the silence will echo as long as the steel skies endure." The fox closed its eyes, cubs safe within the hollow, the forest holding the memory in stillness. The narrator whispered that echoes remain to remind the living of what was lost beneath steel skies.